Shalom, I pray in the all the mightiest of the almighty name of mind, everyone's ultimate only one master, Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Hamashach Yahweh Shai, and his Holy Spirit, Harakah Kadash. I pray to Lord of Israel, all and only, Amen. You know, as we all know, there are different types of empaths: narcissistic empaths, codependentic empaths, and empathic narcissistic empaths. Okay, the narcissistic empaths are those empaths who decide not to worship Yahweh Bashim Yashai, even though the Lord, the Yahweh Bashim Yashai, chose them to be the chosen ones, empaths. They choose to worship their own selves, or they worship, they are self-worshippers, and they want others to worship them, as they are self-worshippers. Okay, and the narcissistic empath is basically a person who possesses false, demonic, physical, artificial appearances, and false darkness, spiritual, artificial appearances, and fake narcissist, physical actor behaviors. Okay, and there is the codependentic empaths. Codependentic empaths are basically the empaths, same thing, they're also chosen by the Lord and stuff like that, but they decided to worship other false gods, which makes them codependentic empaths. So codependentic empaths, they possess false, non-demonic, and non-angelic, physical, artificial appearances, and they possess false darkness, spiritual, artificial appearances. Okay, and they possess fake, codependent, physical actor behaviors. And there is the empathic narcissistic empath. The empathic narcissistic empath is basically the same thing, the chosen one who's also chosen and stuff like that. Okay, but the empathic narcissistic empath is basically the empath who decides to the Lord chose him, and he no longer worshiped Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash. So the Lord chosen him, okay, or her, and they no longer, like, they say, you know what, from now on I'm not going to worship myself, I don't want others to worship me, and I'm not going to worship other false gods, and I'm not going to worship the true God, I'm just going to be neutral. Okay, that's the empathic narcissistic empath. Or let's say they used to worship Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, but they stopped worshiping Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim God. They stopped worshiping, they no longer worship the true God. Because if you worship a false god and then you no longer worship this false god for 24 hours or more, you still kind of remain as codependentic empath. But let's say you used to worship the true God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, and you no longer worship Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, you no longer worship the true God for 24 hours or more, then you will become from empath to empathic narcissistic empath. You will become from, like, you worship the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, then after 24 hours or more, you no longer worship the Lord, and you stay like that for a long time, or forever, or whatever, till death or whatever. Okay, then you'll become from empath to empathic narcissistic empath, and you'll become fake atheist actor. Okay, an empathic narcissistic empath. See, here's the thing, because if you worship a false god and then you no longer worship this false god for 24 hours or more, you will still remain as a codependentic empath. You're not going to become from codependentic empath to empathic narcissistic empath. But then if you worship the true God, then after 24 hours or more, you no longer worship the true God for 24 hours or more, then you will become from empath to empathic narcissistic empath. Okay, an empathic narcissistic empath, they possess false, non-demonic, and non-angelic physical, artificial appearances, and they possess false, non-darkness, and non-lightness, spiritual, artificial appearances. Okay, and they possess fake, empathic, narcissist, physical actor behaviors. Okay, and again, the narcissistic empath is controlled by a demon. The codependentic empath is controlled by a demon and angel. And the empathic narcissistic empath is controlled, whether submissive empathic narcissistic empath, dominant empathic narcissistic empath, or super empathic narcissistic empath, they're all controlled by angels. Okay, each one of them controlled by an angel. And there's the empath, the regular empath. Okay, the non-narcissistic empath, the non-codependentic empath, and the non-empathic narcissistic empath. The empath, he is, whether submissive empath, dominant empath, or super empath, they're all controlled by Yahweh Shai. spirits. Okay, Yahweh Shai control the empath. Okay, the empath who makes sure that every day he pray to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakash. Every day he pray to the true God, not once a week, because if for 24 hours or more you no longer worship the true God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakash, you'll become fake atheist actor. You'll become from empath to empathic narcissistic empath. Okay, so the empath is the empaths who worship the true God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, and they possess true angelic physical natural appearances, and they possess true lightness spiritual natural appearances, and they possess real empath, real submissive empath, real dominant empath, or real super empath, but nevertheless real empath physical Beier behaviors. Okay, so that's the empath, and and hopefully that was edifying. But again, narcissistic empaths are the empaths who are self-worshippers who are self-worshippers and who want others to worship them. The codependentic empath is the empath who worship other false gods. And then even if he stops worshiping the other false god, that doesn't mean he's gonna become from codependentic empath to empathic narcissistic empath. No, he's going to keep on remaining as a codependentic empath. And the empathic narcissistic empath is the empath who he could worship, he might have worshipped the true God and then he stopped, but most likely the empathic narcissistic empath are the empath who don't worship any god. Okay, unlike the codependentic empath, he worship false gods, but the empathic narcissistic empath, they worship no god. Okay, even when they go to church and stuff like that and pray, deep down they're like, oh really, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to pray to any god, whether true or false, and I don't want to worship myself, and I don't want others to worship me, and I don't want to worship any gods, whether false or true. So even when they pray, like when they go to church and stuff like that, and take the communion or whatever, they deep down they don't want to do this, and therefore the Lord makes them empathic narcissistic empath. An empathic narcissistic empath, or they could, on some of them, they used to worship Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, but they no longer worship Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash for 24 hours or more, and that makes them empathic narcissistic empath. Okay, so they used to be empaths, but for 24 hours or more they haven't prayed to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and whether that happens for long term or permanently, but they no longer worship the true God for 24 hours or more, and that makes them that changes them from empaths to empathic narcissistic empaths. And empathic narcissistic empath, they're controlled by an angel. Like the empathic narcissistic empath, he's controlled by an angel, and he's a fake atheist actor, basically. Okay, and the empathic narcissistic empath, he just become like the Ammonites, just like the Japanese atheist. Okay, but except he's a fake atheist actor. He's not a real atheist. Okay, because he's a chosen one. He has the Holy Spirit, so he's supposed to worship Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay, so the empathic narcissistic empath is controlled by an angel. The codependentic empath is controlled by an angel and a demon, and the narcissistic empath is controlled by a demon. And there is the empath. The empath is basically the empath who makes sure every day he worships to the true God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash, okay, at least once a day, and then he always makes sure that it doesn't pass this 24 hours period of time till he prays to the Lord. So if he prays, let's say at 9 a.m., the next day he will pray at let's say if he prays today at noon, 12 p.m., he will make sure that tomorrow he will pray at even before, like the empath, he makes sure he prays multiple times per day, because if he doesn't pray for 24 hours or more, he no longer worship the true God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash. Then he will become empathic narcissistic empath, where he's controlled by an angel. And whether you are submissive empathic narcissistic empath, dominant empathic narcissistic empath, or super empathic narcissistic empath, you're controlled by an angel. Okay, so the empath, he will make sure that you pray every day for less than 20, doesn't pass more than 24 hours till he prays to the true God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kakadash. Okay, and empaths, they pray and serve the Lord multiple times per day. And whether you are submissive empath, dominant empath, or super empath, you're controlled by Yahweh Shai spirits, or you're controlled by Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, not the angels. Shalom. Kal halal Yahweh Bashim.